In this video today, we are going to be discussing something quite potentially controversial: bans in Riftbound. So we're about middle of the way through set 2, maybe not even quite there. The next set comes out just under 2 months. We're getting previews next week, which I'll be doing videos about. And there's been quite a lot of chatter over the last month or two talking about whether some cards are problems and need to potentially be banned. Dave Guskin, a legend that he is, very good at communicating. I've seen regular threads about when things have arose. And on X today gave us a thread, 11 tweets long, where he talks about some of the potential things coming regarding bans and where their heads at. So I do really appreciate Riot, whether you disagree or agree with the current state of the game, that they are actually communicating. So in this video, we're going to look through this thread, and then I'm going to talk about my view on bans, whether I think they should happen, and some potential candidates if they do happen. So Dave here says, we're discussing card bans in the near future based on overly dominant play patterns, but none to announce today. So we're not getting a ban as of now. That's important. No unexpected date for bans. Expect a separate rules update on the 30th of March for the new mechanics being introduced in our next set Unleashed. So there's going to be new mechanics. We had a few new mechanics this set. We had repeat, gold, and equipment that you could attach, to name a few. I'm very interested to see what Unleashed brings. I personally quite enjoy this game. Whilst there's definitely some dominant decks, I don't think there's anything fundamentally broken and unbeatable right now. Which might give you a bit of an idea to where my head's at regarding bans. And then there'll be a few clarities around other stuff. So he said, we're watching the meta evolve after Spirit Forge in large competitive events like the 4 Minor Opens held in China, along with RQs, that's regional qualifiers, in Bologna and Vegas. They're keeping a close eye to strategies that may become too dominant or create frustrated play patterns. So that is two areas where you can talk about whether you ban something or not. It could be, is something just fundamentally broken and it's too good and unbeatable, or have really good and have an insane win rate, or is something just not fun? Ultimately, whilst this game wants to be competitive, it will live and die by being fun and casual people playing it. And if the game's just not fun because of certain cards or decks, then people won't play the game. We promise to keep you updated if we're considering bans, and based on what we're seeing, we've begun internal discussions. So they're thinking about it. As we shared last month, our philosophy is that bans should only be used as a last resort. For us to remove a card from play, there needs to be a strong and specific reason. I mean, I agree with this thought process. I don't think they should just ban cards willy-nilly. Ultimately, let's say I've just bought 3 Seals of Discord to play this Detonate Draven deck. If they just suddenly tomorrow banned Seals of Discord, I've just spent 120 quid on it. I'd be pretty annoyed. And we must firmly believe the change will significantly improve the player experience. Good, that's what the aim should be. Our goal is to take a careful approach, ensuring that as many cards as possible in each set remain viable. Good, you want lots of diversity. If we do see a concerning trend across all levels of play, we'll respond as quickly and decisively as we can. So that's interesting. That's them effectively admitting, admitting that they're not going to ban stuff just because pro players don't like it, or just because casuals don't like it. That they're trying to look at all areas. Seems reasonable. We're watching as the meta continues to develop and reviewing the data. No final calls have been made quite yet. We'll wait until after the Shenzhen, so that's the next Chinese tournament in late March, before making any changes. So we're not going to get any bans in the next couple of weeks at least. It'll probably be April by the time, if we get something. As we promised, we've committed to not making large changes so close to competitive events to try and ensure players have a chance to play, test, and adapt. Good. We have a rules update. I said about that earlier. Until those updates arrive, rulings may vary slightly. So some events and judges do sometimes say things slightly different. Obviously, we do want format that's unified. It's a good comment from Anthony Vera. I want to rub your bald head till it is as shiny as a best of legend. Thank you, Dave. Keep the question, suggestion, feedback. So, a few things about that. I really like the open communication. I tried to go to the Bologna event and it was an absolute mess. The ticketing system for that. Dave came out and apologised and was very open about how it had been a failure. I think Riftbound, considering it's been out about 4 or 5 months now, has got off to a really good start. It's clearly been more successful than people imagined it would be, and I think they are doing a pretty good job. Is the game perfect? clearly not. I don't think any game ever will be. But at the very least, Dave and Riot in general do seem to be trying to listen to feedback and be proactive on it. I've seen quite a mix of opinions. I've seen some very top level players say no bans are needed, the game's still fresh, there's not anything completely broken, and we need to leave it how it is, give the game time to breathe, and then in a set or two, have a look at it. And then some pros are on the opposite end of the spectrum where they're saying there's just these cards that are broken, complete mess, and they're ruining the game and putting people off it. I'd probably be somewhere in the middle. I probably lean more towards the don't ban anything as of now. I don't think there's anything that is beyond broken. I will discuss some problematic cards and talk about that in this video after we've gone through this bit. We're going to look at some cards that I think are very good and would be ban candidates. And that's partly based on not just that they're really good, but that they're not fun. There's certain play styles and decks that are just not fun to play against. And with the time constraints you have, sometimes that can be an issue too. I feel like I'm getting better. I'm pretty quick now at the game. I've had people on TCG Arena tell me I'm playing too quick for them, but that's good practice because you need at a tournament to be able to play a game in 60 minutes, and some decks just take forever, and we're only in set 2. So there is this and that. And I don't think anyone would disagree that purple right now is the dominant colour. Ali Eldrazi, I think that's... I've bookmarked his... what do you call it? Where is it? No, how do I always struggle. There we go. It's annoying. Yeah, Ali Eldrazi. I bookmarked his thing. He put a good thread about it where he was basically saying he doesn't think any bans are needed right now, and that colours are always going to have one that's going to be more dominant, and that's just how TCGs are, and that can change. Set 3, the meta could completely shift, and green could become the most dominant colour. I think every colour should have its own identity and suit towards different play styles, but I do think right now purple's clearly dominant. So let's look at some of the cards that I think are personally problematic. And other people might agree, disagree. Let me know in the comments what you think the most important card. If you was in charge of banning and we had to ban one card, what would you ban? I'll probably put it as like a pinned comment. So for me, Rebuke is an obvious candidate. You can put down a 10 cost card that might cost 4 power. Not sure if there even is one of those, but you get my point. A really expensive card. And then your opponent next turn just says Rebuke. You have literally just completely lost your turn. That's it. However, it has to be at a battlefield, so there is a little bit about it. But there's not much playing around this. Outside of green or purple, there's not really any sort of counterplay to this. Red and orange don't have anything they can do really about this. And you have to react anyway to get around it. So this card, honestly, should have at a bare minimum been a 4 energy free... not 4, not free power, so a 4 energy if you want to rebuke a unit that's like more than 3 might, I would say. I would say 2 energy, 2 power to rebuke something under 3 would be fine. This card is fundamentally broken at times, I think, and very hard to play around. So that would be one of my first banned candidates if I was to ban. Like I said, though, as of now, I would not ban anything, but I think there's some that are very close to being toxic gameplay and borderline bannable. Reaver's Row, one of the best battlefields in the game. The main issue with this isn't that it's broken necessarily, it's just it completely fundamentally changes how the games play, and it's not fun to play around generally. Showdowns, combats at battlefields, that is a staple of Riftbound. Reaver's Row effectively allows you to just ignore that, which is the point of it for certain decks, but I also just think it changes how the game should be played in a potentially negative way. Cold Shot. Now, this is probably most people's #1 ban target. Anytime in any TCG that you put a 0 energy card, there's going to be potential risks. Once you have 1 Ezreal and 1 Seal of Discord, Cold Shot just becomes crazy. That's the problem with it. You can effectively look at 4 cards and pick 2 of them, knowledge and 2 draw for literally nothing once you've got it set up. It's insane. And then even better, It works like crazy with these miracle decks where you get battering rams out and you just draw your whole deck, and it's a nightmare to play against. Any of the decks that run this effectively tend to be really good. Um, I don't I don't know if it's completely at this point where it has to be banned. I think it should have been a one energy, one power. I think one energy, one power on it would have been fair. I think that costing two energy to get two draws, um, like stacked deck is one energy, so it costs more than that. But because you can repeat it, you'd be able to get two draws with it. I think that would have been very balanced and completely fair. Stellar Cord Herder. Now, in a lot of games, she's not a big deal, but I think a lot of the problem is that she's in green, so you can put a Guardian Angel on her, you can put a Zonius. Green has loads of like counters, has loads of quick buffs, and the main deck that you see her in, Irelia, has to fight down to two. The Stellar Cord Herder kind of breaks the general normal traditional ways in which you get draw power. I honestly think that maybe if she was like four energy, one power, that would have been a lot fairer. I think that would instantly have balanced the card a lot more. I don't think they're, from what they've said, they're never going to errata any of these cards. They're printed as well. It'd make it a bit awkward. But I honestly think, whilst the idea of the card's cool, you look at a card like, let's look at Jay Madada. So he's two might more, but one energy more, and he costs two power. That is a huge difference. When you choose me with a spell, draw one. So you have to actually spend something and target him specifically to get a draw. I'm not asking for a purple card to be made better, by the way, just to clarify. But I've literally never seen anyone use Jay Madada. And he's way more expensive. Stellar Cord, you can get off a Reaver's Row. You get every turn by just moving her. You can ride the wind and get three potential moves in a turn. It's a way, way, way better card. Like that card there, just it doesn't equate to it. So there you go. Ride the wind. Ride the wind when you play against it feels really bad. Again, it could have been like a free energy maybe. One of the big problems that makes purple so good is they have so many of these two cost cards that are a nightmare to play around, and that you can't really just predict what they're going to do. And then Ride the Wind is a complete game changer that potentially allows them to just completely change the points cadence. By that I mean they can score on your turn, they can get out of danger. And this was probably the most broken combo in set one with Annie and Vi. So it's a cool card, but for its cost, it's probably just too good. Punch First. I think this card is one of the better balanced ones, and I think this is what cards should be aimed for, but I know people have mentioned it. A 5 might swing for one energy is pretty crazy, and it's very frustrating playing against body when you know they've got one energy up, and they might not have this, but they're bluffing you potentially with it. 2 power recycle on it, though, is pretty big, but a lot of the decks that do run it generate gold or have things like Fiora, where they can exhaust their legend to get one of them runes back anyway. I do think in the state body's in, it's okay, but it does need Punch First, to be honest, to be able to be functional. So I don't really mind it. I think this is one of the ones that gets talked about, but probably doesn't need banning as much. And then they're not going to ban a legend. Let's just be honest. They're not going to completely ban a legend. People spend hundreds to build these decks. Sometimes even might be buying the overnumbered legend for a lot. They're not banning them. Let's just be realistic. However, I think erratas should happen. I play Draven as my main, so I'm saying this as someone who this would hurt me. But this, when you win a combat draw one, it's problematic. I think Kai'Sa, her legend is a bit problematic for the game. She will always be a good deck, unless blue and red are just useless. But her legend alone just makes it great. Same with Draven. Annie is just a much worse version of Draven now. The draw one that Draven gives you is honestly really crazy. It could have been based on combat damage, so damage has to happen, or Draven only can do this once a turn. You have to like tap him. That would have been much more fair. But like I say, they're not going to ban a legend. It's more just going to be targeting the decks, I would argue. And then one more that I realised I forgot to put in. Dazzling Aurora. This card long term, once they add some sort of like eternal deck where we've got lots of sets and there's a format where you can just use any card for anything, will be insane. The card art on that, by the way, absolutely beautiful. But Dazzling Aurora, for me, as a deck, is one of the most toxic decks. I'm not saying the people using it toxic, but it's just an annoying play style to play against. That literally they just ramp up, try on the way there, just annoy you a bit, and then once they get this out, if you do not have the right setup to beat it, you just lose. And I think it's one of the more low skill cards in the game or type of decks to run. Whilst it's a cool concept, I don't think it makes a very good competitive gameplay. So that would be one of the cards that I would look to see not in. Not because I don't like the concept of it, but I just think the way it makes decks play is rather frustrating and not a good user experience. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you're still around at the end and you enjoyed it, please do consider subscribing to the channel. Every day putting out content to try help you guys get better at the game, generate discussions. As always, I appreciate you. Thank you for watching. Keep it spicy. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.